Hello, folks. Thank you for checking in on our Hard Issues Season 11 episode, where we're speaking with Elspeth Duncan, a multifaceted Trinidadian creative based in Tobago. Hi there, folks. Welcome to Hard Issues, brought to you by Caribbean Airlines and supported by Consulate General of Trinidad and Tobago in New York, Mr. J. Andre Laveau. Thank you, guys. Aussie Stewart, as you know, very grateful that you've tuned into this tour of mine where we're giving flowers to impactors who are doing the groundwork, the hard work. And on this episode, I'm shining light on Elspeth Duncan, devoted animal advocate, yoga instructor, chef, restaurateur, cook, author, poet, composer, filmmaker, and painter, multimedia artist, actually. So please like, follow, share, subscribe, drop a comment, and check out our membership page, the After Show Inside the Call, which is a personal view of Elspeth, soon come. Elspeth Duncan is a multifaceted Trinidadian creative living in Tobago, born into a scholarly family in St. Augustine, Trinidad. Her father is a professor of botany and her mother worked as a librarian. Her upbringing fostered a love for travel and learning, leading her to pursue an education at the University of West Indies, St. Augustine, where she earned a BA in English literature and minored in linguistics, general psychology and sociology at UWI. She later attained a Master of Philosophy in Criminology from the University of Cambridge, driven by a desire to explore rehabilitation. She took part in activities like myself, very tomboyish, I think maybe, and the women's football team, Newhall women's cricket team. Now that's something that's interesting. Squash and cycling. Her creative journey began in the advertising industry, where she worked as a copywriter for McCann Erickson and Saatchi Saatchi for nearly a decade, crafting compelling campaigns across various media. In 2000, she decided to transition into a self-employed career, founding Happy Hippie Productions, makes me smile, later becoming Thou Art Yoga. She offers transformative Kundalini yoga classes, workshops, and multimedia creative services that elevate awareness and inspires conscious living among individuals and organizations. She is a KRI certified Kundalini yoga instructor, just in case you wondered, and has taught locally and internationally, inspiring diverse groups, including corporate clients and at-risk youth. Her dedication to animal welfare blossomed after relocating to Tobago in 2012, right? Where she founded Venus Doggess of Love. It's so cute. It makes me smile. Venus Doggess of Love. This initiative aims to rescue, rehabilitate, and advocate for animals with the belief that love changes lives. Her commitment has earned her accolades, including the 2018 Angostura Champions Award for her significant contributions to animal welfare. She's an accomplished writer of poetry, fiction, articles for Caribbean and international publications, and scripts for film and theater. Her first published work of fiction, Daisy Chain, links 53 women to each other in a chain of eclectic vignettes, some of which Elspeth intends to translate into film, correct? When are you going to get to that? She has authored several works, including her first novel, Daisy Chain, which explores interconnected women's stories. Her award-winning films, such as Venus and Magnet, showcase her storytelling prowess, further solidifying her reputation as a multimedia visionary. Outside of her teaching and advocacy, Elspeth runs an intimate dining experience called Table for Two. Here, she curates personalized meals, transforming dining into a unique sensory journey that celebrates love and connection. Currently residing in Tobago with her 3 rescue dogs, Venus, Sheba, and Brindle, 3 cats, Abba, I'm sure where that came from, Crispin and Angelo, she continues to advocate for animal rescue and welfare. And as a devoted animal advocate and a passionate yoga instructor, she's dedicated to raising awareness and fostering connections, 1 class, 1 meal, 1 rescued animal at a time. Elspeth Duncan, let's get to her. So, Elspeth, why did you choose criminology? You're a creative person, you're interested at the time with rehabilitating people, but is that why?
Well, I was always interested in the deviant mind, and as not so much a child, but maybe a teenager, I used to look at a show called Prisoner. It was an Australian soap opera. And I just had a fascination with prisoners and crimes. I used to read like books that were criminal studies, case histories. And when I finished my first degree at UE, I applied to Cambridge, and the only thing in the prospectus that attracted me was criminology.
Okay. So, how do you think your MPhil in criminology shapes your creative work and your approach to social issues?
Well, to be honest, when I came back to Trinidad after having done the MPhil, I didn't go into that because it involved doing research, which I really was not interested in. And I went straight in, well, not straight into advertising, in quite a roundabout way, which I didn't plan, which is how many things in my life happen. I ended up in advertising. So I jumped straight into creativity, but I did use, I mean, my interest in that kind of thing is always there. So like I taught yoga in a women's prison just before I moved to Tobago.
Okay. Women's prison in Trinidad?
In Trinidad, yeah. So things like that. And I think that whole rehabilitative aspect is something that runs throughout life. You know, whether it's with people, whether it's with animals, it's applied in that way.
Right. You love the advertising business, but you left it. Why?
Well, like as I said, I got into advertising totally
by
chance.
fluke or choose.
No, but just by divine intervention, I guess, and creative power. And I loved it. I was like, wow, here's a job where I get to be creative all day. I didn't even want to go home when the weekend came or the end of the day. But years in advertising will show you that it's not so true. It's not true. You're kind of convincing people something that, and I couldn't do that. You know, I thought I want to use my creativity for something that inspires in a way that's true to me and therefore true to others.
Nice. Because you had mentioned once, you said it's almost like telling lies every day.
Yeah.
Your advertising stuff you might not necessarily use.
Yeah.
And I also began to feel that clients' way of thinking were very limited.
Oh yeah, very limiting. Especially locally.
How has your background in advertising, though, influenced your approach to teaching yoga and creating multimedia content?
My experience in advertising, I think it taught me to, it kind of harnessed and channeled me into kind of a brevity of expression, because you have to be like that.
You have to punch.
You have to be able to, when people say an ad, it's not a set of words. You have to be able to, because I'm a very conceptual and symbolic person, so therefore it's like one headline, one image. So even in describing something to a yoga student, I always use an image or use a comparison that may be so far off from yoga, but it applies because they understand in a creative concept kind of way.
What advice would you give to someone looking to pursue a career in arts, wellness, or animal advocacy? Somebody comes to you and they want to...
Yeah, anybody
who
wants
with
to
you.
pursue a career in wellness, I would say it's not a trend. You have to believe it. You have to live it and be authentic to it.
Right.
Because I think people can get into it because it's very trendy.
Right.
And that's not the reason to do it.
Right.
Because people feel when you're real and when you're not. And in terms of animal advocacy, of course, you have to love animals to do that. And just give it love. It's not about money, obviously, because we don't make money from it.
Right.
And it's just about devotion.
Love. So then what motivated you to focus on animal welfare? And how did the Venus Doggess of Love come to fruition?
So I moved to Tobago in 2012, and in 2014, again, quite by chance, as is everything, or by fate, I should say, I adopted a white puppy called Venus. Well, I called her Venus. I looked at her and I thought, hey, Venus. Yeah. And from Venus came Venus Doggess of Love, which is the NGO, because she and I we rescued a chicken, a baby chicken, which was Magnet, which became the film, Venus and Magnet. And I started rescuing animals together. I started posting it on Facebook, and eventually a lot of animals started being drawn to me, injured animals, dying animals, and I would help them. I'd post it on the page. People started donating. And it got bigger and bigger and bigger, and I thought I have to make this transparent, so I have to make it into an NGO, which I didn't really want to do, but of course I wanted to be transparent with it. And so that's how it became an NGO.
And the name?
Venus, my dog.
But the dog is...
Because, Venus, goddess of love.
Goddess of love.
She's love, beauty, and harmony, which is, for me, that's life. And Doggess is just goddess.
Yes. What inspired you to become a Kundalini yoga instructor, and what impact has yoga had on your life?
Well, it's only now that we're doing this interview that it's really cementing in my mind that the things that I do in life, I never plan them. They really just happen. And Kundalini yoga happened like that as well. I was at home. Some friends were going to a class. They invited me. I didn't have anything else to do. And I went. And within the first 3 minutes of this class, something happened. I just felt something within that I'd never felt before in my life. I always say it lasted a flash of a second, yet it lasted for my whole life, because that was in 2000. And from that day on, I just was doing Kundalini yoga every day. And I started teaching it 2 years later. So I've been teaching it for 22 years, and it has definitely changed my life, and it has enhanced my life. And enhancement is also transformation, and I've seen it do that to anybody who does it. Not everybody stays with it, because it's not the kind of yoga that everybody would be into.
Give me a small snippet as to the difference.
Okay, well, there's so many different kinds of yoga, all of which I'm not personally familiar with or have done, but so you have Hatha yoga is the kind that most people would know. They would call it like the twisty, bendy type, where you're doing different kind of postures. Kundalini yoga has physical aspects, but they're quite different from what you see with the other forms of yoga. We also, a lot of breath work, a lot of meditation, and there's also the use of mantras and sound currents. So I like it because it's very multifaceted, and because of the mantra aspect, because I'm musical, I'm very attracted to that. I even make up my own versions of mantras. I love the music aspect of it too.
What kind of feedback have you received from people who have participated in your classes?
In yoga?
Yeah.
Just that they feel, anybody who comes to a class afterwards, they just feel very relaxed, as do I. There have been people who, on a bigger level, just huge life transformation, whether it's quitting smoking, as happened with me as well, quitting smoking, just life changes. I remember once a student saying to me, I don't know what's happening to me. I'm just changing so rapidly, and I don't lie with my same friends anymore. I don't do this anymore and that anymore. And kind of getting scared. So I said, don't worry, We have this mantra. One of the main mantras in Kundalini Yoga is Sat Nam. The more commonly used mantra, Sat Nam, which means Sat, truth, and Nam, name. Truth is my identity. And I always equate it to, truth is my identity. It's like an onion. As we go through life, we're peeling off layers and layers that are not us. And the closer we get to us, to who you are, your authentic Satnam, things that are not for you or of you will fall away.
Right.
Naturally, it'll just fall away naturally,
Right.
and you cannot grasp onto it. Don't hold on to it.
Right.
Because you're holding yourself back.
That's powerful. What future projects or goals do you have for the animal welfare? Because there's a story that, you know, you have a pretty good base to send people outside of the country, the animals that you rehabilitate as well.
Oh, yeah. We have a lot of dogs that go out.
Out. You find them, you heal them, and work with them, and then.
Yeah. Well, the animals that are found, they have mange, or something may be broken, or they're just homeless, starving, or they're like skeletons. I mean, they run the gamut of just horror stories. And I'm very compelled whenever I see an animal in need. I could be late for a meeting or what, forget the meeting, I'll quickly go for the animal, right? Pick it up, take care of it, rehabilitate it. And because I feature them very closely on the Facebook page, and people get to know their personalities, they see the different pictures, and they fall in love with them, including people from abroad. Like, a woman in Vermont, for example, she saw 2 mangy puppies, and she just wrote to me, she's like, oh my God, how much is it to bring them up? Nobody would look at a mangy puppy like that. So they just love the pothounds up there. We have about, I think, between 15 to 20 that went up to Massachusetts, New England, Massachusetts, Maine, Vermont, that whole area.
Right.
And they're in agility competitions, winning awards. They're going to puppy school. They just have a great life. And
who would think our patongs, right?
Yeah.
Explain to the audience who don't know what a patong is.
A pothound is like a mutt, what they would call a mutt, or like a mixed breed. And here, pothounds are very looked down upon. People, unfortunately, dump them, abuse them, poison them, etc. And they have, but they're very appreciative when they go abroad.
Right.
They're in demand, actually.
There you go. One time you told me they were considered highly intelligent.
They are very intelligent. That's one thing that they say. And I think they're intelligent because they have street smarts. Right. They have to have the street smarts to survive, and they learn very quickly.
It's an amazing thing. And tell the audience where they can find more information about that aspect.
The animal rescue aspect. We haven't set up a website yet for Venus Daughters of Love, but we plan on. But for now, just go to Venus Daughters of Love on Facebook, and that's where I do most of the updating, at least 2 to 3 times a day, with anecdotes, photos, videos, all of which I do. I'm like chief cook and bottle washer of that.
A lot of love there. A lot of love there. What themes or messages do you aim to convey through your writing and filmmaking?
Well, the message that I have with the NGO, with my animal rescue, the tagline of Venus Daughters of Love, love changes lives, is, I would say, is my own core belief. And I inject love. I know love is a kind of cliche word, but that's what I inject into everything that I do. And in that process, anything I do, even if I'm featuring something that's not pretty, like in my articles, I write about a lot of stuff like abuse and things that we just don't want in our world. But I always bring a positive twist or a solution to it. So I will never present something without offering some kind of hope or solution, and to do it in a realistic way, in a way that I want people to take action. I'm not into, oh, this is a problem, that's a problem, and then nobody does anything about it. So it's about inspiring people to take loving action to make our world a better place and to become a better person yourself in the process.
What future project or goal right now are you most excited about?
I have a project that I want to work on with some children in Charlottesville, where I was going to give them a camera, and we would be working with the animals of their village, filming and telling the stories. Charlottesville Tales is my name for it, T-A-I-L-S. Telling the stories of these dogs through the eyes of the children with their little camera, but I would be filming them. So it'd be a combination of that, right? So I'd done up a budget and proposal, I was all excited, and everything looked really nice. I sent it off to some companies and businesses, and either they didn't respond at all, or they responded and said, we don't have any money. And the budget is only like 80,000 TT, yeah?
Wow, so that's, when you look at it, divide by 7, that's 10 grand.
Yeah, 10,000 US.
10, yeah.
Nothing. And then a friend of mine, now I have a friend in England, she
Right.
and I worked, now working with children and the cameras called participatory video, right?
Right.
So she and I, this is how we met. We worked on a participatory video project in Trinidad when she came down to work through the British Council. And then we went up to England to do the second part of that. And then years later, we went to India to work with survivors of sex trafficking with the same participatory video type thing. Anyway, all of that to say that out of all these companies and whatever that I sent it to, she said, hey, I like that project you're doing, I'll send you some money. And she sent me £50.
Right.
Which is like,
Right.
just a little friend
Right,
token.
right.
And that's the only funding I got for this project. Wow. And I'm like, you know what? I am going to do this anyway, because everything I do in my life, I do it. I feel like Jesus sometimes. I have 5 fish and 2 loaves, or 2 loaves and 5 fish.
Right.
That's all I have. I am going to feed millions of people with that.
Right.
I'm getting goosebumps.
Yeah.
And that's it. I will take her £500 and I'll do it. So I'm going to start it, but obviously because I don't have the... But then what I equated it to is small fish and big fish.
Right.
The big fish, one big fish could give me the whole 80,000, face it, without blinking an eye.
Correct.
But the small fish will give me 500 TT, 50 pounds is roughly that. Or I'm planning on sending out an email to my friends, look, or whoever, $100 each, TT.
Right.
If it's 50 people, that's 5,000, maybe I could buy food and, who knows.
Right.
And I'm going to do it, but I've shifted the project. I've changed it up because the amount of time and energy I would have put into it, I can't. With just that little bit.
Right.
And I'm at this stage, I'm not just going to just do it. So I've shifted it and I've scaled it down, but I think everything happens for a reason, and I think what it's going to be now will actually probably even be better in a way that I can't even tell you yet. Right. I think it will unfold very organically. Right. As is anything I do. Right. And I also feel I like the concept of the small fish rather than the big fish, because I like the idea of somebody with their little grocery, they can't afford anything, and they're like, okay, take $100 or take some corn kernels for the children. I will big them up. Right. I will put them in the credits. So when it looks like, thank you to, and you see all these names rolling up, and they're just these little people. Yeah. Or, when I write an article, I'll write an article about my small fish that made it happen. Right. And big them up.
And those are the people who stay close, who stay close. Want to know what's going on, who's, get involved.
And I think it means something to them. The big companies, they're like, oh, here's, $2 million. They just hand it off and they're like,
and they move on,
But somebody is like, here's $20. Yes. I mean, I would love to get $2 million, but it's like a friend of mine today. She's like, I told her, look, I didn't get any funding except the £50, so I'm really scaling this down, but I have to do it because I want to get it ready for the film festival.
Which is when?
Later this year, but the deadline is like April or something. Okay. So I said, I'm just going to have to send out an email and ask people for like $100 each at least. And she said, I'll give you 200. And I just felt so excited about the idea of 200, it's like 200.
Listen.
But it felt exciting,
Yes. The idea is to move forward one step at a time.
And make it happen.
Exactly. I am so happy to be sitting with you, with all that you do. Tell us about how the table for two works. So that sounds so sensual.
It is. The table for two began shortly after I moved to Tobago, and I had spent off all my savings, and I thought I need to make some extra money. So I thought, okay.
Right.
I don't know how I came up. Oh, two friends were holidaying in Tobago, and I thought, let me cook dinner for them. And I did 3 courses. They came, they loved it, and I created some little activities for them to do between the courses. They loved it. And I said, let me set up a TripAdvisor page. And they wrote my first review. And I charged them like $300 or something. And then somehow somebody else heard about it. And then people just started coming and coming. And it expanded until it was always just a table for 2 people.
Right. Just one table set up. So it's only, they're getting all your attention, other food, and that's nobody else.
Yeah,
right.
Nobody else. They could do whatever they want.
Right.
I don't really care. They could be who they want.
Right.
I've had straight, gay, mother, daughter, best friends, whatever. Anybody come.
Just 2.
2.
Yes.
And so it's not just food. It's like they would answer some questions. So I understand them, get to know them through the answers, and I create the food is created for them.
Yes.
The activities that happen between each thing is created for
customized
them,
for
and
them.
It's things that bring them closer.
If people want to let the audience know, if people want to try.
Well, let me tell you this.
How does it work? Yeah.
Like I said, it expanded. And it went from being $300 to $3,000.
Right.
And even that is not
enough for what you do.
I met these people from abroad, some famous restaurant people, and they said, no, this should be $1,000 US at least.
Right.
But that's not for the market here.
Right.
But anyway, I stopped doing it just before. Not
really?
Stopped. Before COVID. Since COVID, I have not started back because you know what? It just started getting bigger and bigger and bigger for me. And more people kind of wanting it.
Right.
And I said, you know what? COVID gave me an opportunity to step back. But now I would do it for something very special.
Right.
Not for like everybody who wants to just try it.
Right. Got it.
It has to touch me.
Right.
There are times when I thought, I'm going to stop. This is just too much.
So you'd have it one day a week, or then it happened more than one day?
There was a time when I was doing it up to 3 times a week, which is a lot.
Yes, a lot of work for one person.
And then, you see, especially with the animal rescue, that so took over my life that I don't have time for things like that. But for a really special one, I would put aside a table for 2.
Right.
I have people coming to me and saying, when I meet the one, I'm coming to table for 2. So I like that people are inspired to really find the one.
So there you go. Any of you guys find your one, and it's a special thing, check out Elspeth.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much for staying for the first part. We have another conversation, which is the second part. Thank you guys for listening in. Really appreciate it. Thank you to Cheese, the OTC team. Appreciate you. Again, like, follow, subscribe, share, drop a comment. This is Elspeth Duncan, animal advocate, and more. Thank you, Caribbean Airlines. Thank you, J. Laveau. Appreciate you. And as I say, when you're on your beat, stay on the sunny, sunny side of the street safely. Be health conscious, kind to one another, and don't forget to give thanks for the little and big gifts as we strive through this beautiful life. Thank you, thank you, thank you for staying for the second. Thank you, thank you, thank you for coming in to our after show, Inside the Call. See you next one.